My name is Ash Kapoor, as you know. I'm the medical director of Levitas Group and Levitas Academy. We're very pleased to have Libby join us today, who has done some phenomenal work in the longevity space. It wasn't called longevity there. She was simply just looking at how to make people better and how to make herself better. And I think from my point of view, these authentic journeys are the things that change things. These are real cases who've made efforts, opened up their intuition, and found a different pathway outside the pharmaceutical model. And with that, we've not only seen improvement, but joyfulness. So welcome, Livy. I'm grateful for you to join us. A question that I get often asked is, when people get better themselves or make efforts to get better themselves, where is the energy? Is it in the mind or is it in the matter? What is it that drove you to look for a different way? And what was your motivation for it?
I said this to a client the other day, and I say this quite a lot of autoimmune clients. How far down do you have to go before you say enough is enough?
Okay.
And unfortunately, within this Western modern world, you have to go quite far down, because being stressed, being burnt out, or my hair is falling out, or I'm living off coffee, quite often is almost a badge of honor. Yeah. You know, it proves how busy you are, how successful you are, how busy
we
your
celebrate
life is.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So until everything is taken away from you, then that's enough. And for me, it was when I've spoken about it before. My eldest daughter, she would be like 12 then, asked me, what will she do? Who will look after her when I die?
Goodness.
And she wasn't talking about when you die in your 90s.
No.
She was talking about when you die in the next couple of years.
My goodness. That must have been a massive sort of impactful thing to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, you describe you have to go right down. I've heard that before amongst other indigenous populations, the monks, etc. You've almost got to hit the bottom of the pit.
Yeah.
It's almost a rebirth, really.
Yeah, it'd be like alcoholics, drug addicts, all of those people.
Yes. And was that the turning point for you?
That was the turning point for me. And I did something that I wouldn't recommend other people do it at all. But for me, it was me saying to me, I'm going to take another path. This path isn't working to me. And I threw away a lot of my pharmaceutical drugs. I just binned them.
That takes a lot of bravery.
Yeah, because they weren't getting me better.
Yes.
They were getting me sicker in so many other ways, and they were managing, and then I was having to take more of a certain drug or go on a higher drug or, go on another experimental drug. And I didn't have any quality of life.
Yeah. Did you challenge that? So when you were not improving or there were side effects, did you question it?
No. Why would you? Yeah. I was going to the best of the best.
Yes.
I was blessed. I was going to the Louise Coote Centre in London. People were coming down from Scotland to see the people that I was seeing. I was under the best care there was for lupus. Yeah. So why would I challenge it?
So in your mind, you were being treated as best as anyone in the world could be treated.
Yeah.
And therefore the fault was within you?
Or I was just unlucky.
Is that how you saw yourself?
Yeah. Because, they couldn't explain to me why it happens. It just does.
It's interesting.
This sometimes just happens to some people.
And there must be a large population out there that simply give that agency outwards to experts and therefore just assume if they're not getting better, then that's just them.
Then that's just it. Well, the leaflet I got said there's no cure.
Goodness.
So it's in black and white.
Said that?
Yeah, there is no cure.
Right.
There is no cure. It still says on the NHS website there is no cure.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not asking to be cured.
Yeah.
I was just asking
for a better quality.
Quality of life.
Yes. Yes. And that term, not being cured, do you feel it resonated in your brain? It sort
100%.
of almost put a seed in thinking that's 100%. The cap.
That's it. There's nothing I can do.
Mm. And did you truly believe that?
At that time, yes, I did. Because I told people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those around me said, oh, there's no cure.
Right. Yes. So it was all self-fulfilling.
Yeah. My whole family my daughter believed there was no cure. That's why she asked me, what does she do when I die? Because that's what we'd been told.
Yeah. And when you decided to throw away the drugs, that's a brave thing to do, because clearly you're being treated by the best in the world.
Yeah.
Were you scared?
No.
Right. So something in you resonated.
I was no longer fighting for myself. I was fighting for her.
Interesting.
And when it comes to my girls, I'm not really scared of anything.
Yeah. So the purpose
Yeah, I had
and
a purpose.
motivation was purely that. And
It was purely her.
yeah. And the determination was guided by that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all need purpose.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're a bit confused about this purpose,
Yeah.
about what success should look like and what we're trying to do. But there's no stronger motivation than that, really, is there?
No.
You know, it's selfless.
And I changed. I changed instead of saying I don't want to be sick, or I no longer want to have a lever to get me out of bed, or I no longer want to have a walking stick. I said, I'm going to be stronger than I've ever been before, and I'm going to do the monkey bars at the gym. Now, I could even get to the end of the bed without weeing myself, without someone helping, but that was what I decided. That would be proof to me.
That was a sort of, I don't know, an aspiration you set in your head.
Yeah.
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 It's interesting you use the words, I am going to.
Yeah.
And I feel the positive affirmation is a very, very powerful tool. And what you've told your brain is, it's not negotiable.
Yeah, it's non-negotiable.
It's not, if I'm feeling better, I will.
Or
It's-
I will try,
Yeah,
or
it's
I
I am
want
going
to. I'm going to do
Yeah.
this.
And did this come instinctively?
I think it did. It was seeing that fear and loss of everything and almost abandonment in my daughter's eyes. I said, I'm not going to have that. I'm not. She deserves better.
That's incredible.
And that's what it was about.
And going into this new way of thinking, were you equipped for it?
No.
So it just kind of
No.
shows you.
Not at all.
I mean, I'm just
I'd
intrigued.
never had a voice. I really don't. Going back as I do with my clients, and of course looking at myself, I don't really think I've ever used my voice until then.
Yeah.
So no,
Yeah.
it wasn't a norm for me.
Yes. And when you did the positive affirmation, internally, how did you feel?
I'd shifted that no to a it's possible. I don't know how it's possible, but it's going to be possible. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know who's going to help me, but this is what will happen to some degree. I didn't know what that degree
Yeah.
was, but to some degree.
So it's almost like you seeded the where you're going to go
Yeah.
and just literally let things happen.
Yeah, and asked for help.
Yes. And tell me about that. Tell me about the journey within a few months of that decision that you were going to do the monkey bars. Who did you turn to? What did you do? What did you read? Because everybody wants to know.
Well, I read, there wasn't much I could do because I couldn't go anywhere unassisted or helped by, my family. So I read a lot, and I read a paper by Dr. Tom O'Brien online, the guy that wrote Autoimmune Fix and You Can Heal Your Brain. And I was like, oh, he thinks it's possible, and he's got the word doctor in front of his name. So maybe it is. And he's not just done it, he must have helped other people. So I was like, it is possible. And I went down that rabbit hole and saw these things that you could do. And then I was like, well, I don't have any money because I used to be a model and couldn't model because I was 5 1/4 stone and I had lesions all over my face, a butterfly rash, most of my hair had fallen out. No one was going to let me model. So I was like, oh, well, the waif is coming back in. This was my rationale. Maybe if I cleared up my skin, I could get some editorial bookings. So because I used to do lots of sports and fitness and I was no longer that girl. So I went to this guy on Harley Street, I'll never forget it, armed with my credit card. And I said, right, laser all my scarring off my face and my blisters and stuff. And he said, well, we can do that, but it's going to come back. It's not your skin. Your skin's not your problem. It's your gut and everything else, your immune system. He said, I'm going to give you a couple of treatments for free.
Wow. That's...
I know. But with that money that you were going to spend on me, go and see this guy. And he told me to go and see Raj Bashu. So I was like, oh, okay. I'll go.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. And I went, and he said, you're really sick. You're one of the sickest people I've met. But you will get better. But don't forget, it's taking you a long time to get sick. Might take a while to get better. And I said, okay, I'm here for the ride.
Yes. Incredible. That's quite something.
Mm.
And so that must have fueled the hope.
Yeah.
Fueled the purpose.
Yeah.
And kind of probably showed that you were on track.
Yeah. And it fueled me to where I am today because I was like, but why? But why? Why are you testing for this? What does that mean? Where would have I got this high mercury? What's going on? What effect does this have in my mouth? What effect does my diet? Why are you asking me to stop being a vegetarian? I mean, I used to go with a notepad. So you always booked me at the end of the day because my hour would always be like 3 hours.
Excellent. Well, it's you taking agency.
Yeah.
And actively listening, I would call it. You're no longer sort of, it's not a command and control relationship anymore. It's, I'm going to take these facts and then see what suits me.
Yeah.
Or what resonates best with me.
Yeah.
And that must have just excited more reading, more discussions. And did you then put into practice some of the things?
Yeah, a lot. And also, actually, no one's ever asked me this as well about change of mind. It was around then I explored Buddhism and I started chanting. And it was about me creating that change from within instead of looking to everyone else.
Yeah.
Even though people were helping me, I was the conductor now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's an interesting thing because this is something that's never talked about in medicine. And, you know, certainly my experience of looking at precision or cellular medicine for the last decade has been that it has a certain point where it'll get you somewhere. Mm-hmm. But without opening up the brain and the spiritualism, for a better word, we're never going to get to that optimal state. So I'm quite interested in how early you discovered that in your journey and what made you think about that.
So I discovered it a long time before. So I think I would be, 19?
During your modelling career?
Yeah, on a beach in Thailand. And a bunch of us started fasting. We were doing colonics, all of these things. But then when I came, after nearly 2 years, and I came back to England, I dropped it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the seed was already there.
The seed was already there. And I'd had a really interesting boyfriend at university. I mean, we're going back, over 30 years. I'm nearly 52 now. So I was at uni. And he was saying, you can't use tampons. They're full of toxins and all of these things.
Good.
We're still really good friends.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, you were so on the right.
Yes.
You were like far ahead of your time.
That was so far ahead.
Yeah, he was so far ahead. You know, always say, you know, if we're going to buy a chicken or whatever fish, make sure it's not wrapped in plastic and everything. So all these people had been trying to tell me things.
You weren't ready to, at that point, the brain wasn't quite.
I hadn't hit rock bottom, so why should I? I was doing okay.
Yeah.
Right? That you go, I'm doing okay.
Yes.
I don't need to.
Yes. And so the literally what you were just opening up something that was already within you.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just a physical awakening. It was a psychological, spiritual awakening. And so with the chanting, did you feel more balanced?
Yeah, and less fearful.
Yes. Yes.
I think quite a lot of our choices, many people's choices are from fear-based. And I'm not saying I was no longer in certain areas, not challenged by fear, but I was no longer scared of dying.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is an interesting point, that ultimately everything needs energy. You know, everything needs, including thought. And the brain will decide when the outside world comes into it whether it should react through fear or it should react through, a better word, hope and positivity. And if you are in a sort of world where everything's about fear, if I don't do this, this bad thing will happen. If this doesn't happen, that won't happen. That's the habit of the body. And often these individuals may do all the right things physically, but still get ill because they've been triaged down the fear mode as opposed to the hope mode. And this is what I mean when you hear things like, your disease is incurable. I mean, that's fear.
Yeah.
Every decision is dictated by that for the future and the present. And so I think this concept of no longer being fearful is very powerful, because your body will then take commands from the head office in a very different way.
I will give myself as an example something that I, many years ago, so like maybe 25 years ago, had a panic attack on a plane. Like a severe panic, where I was given oxygen, everything. And then I thought I was scared of flying. But I just managed, I was going through an awful divorce, all of those things. And it just so happened that's where I had my panic attack. And I recently met my ex-husband, who I was fearful of. Very, very fearful of. It had been, I'd been pushed out of a car when I was pregnant, lost my baby, all of these things, right? So I'd had fear of his name or anything. And I decided, I was going to go and see. We were going to have a cup of tea because my daughter's getting married. We had a cup of tea. And he's not the same person. Like, who is the same person nearly 30 years later? He's not the same person. And I went on a flight on my own. I think 2 or 3 days later, I was completely fine.
Incredible.
Completely fine.
Yes, because you changed the pathway within you. Yes. So that's quite...
And I've gone for hypnotherapy, I've done CBT, I've been at the Maudsley, everything, because my fear of flying was so bad.
Yes.
And then I saw him and I flew to Paris on my own, flew back, it was all fine.
No issue.
No issue.
So how much trauma, injury, issues are not in our conscious mind? Because if in our conscious mind, we can rationalize them.
Yeah, I'd rationalize lots of things.
Yeah. How much is sitting in the back office in our subconscious, do you think?
So much.
Yeah. And I think this is another area which, again, is not managed, not even addressed in the conventional narrative, is that we sometimes suitcase trauma because that's how we protect ourselves. A child will hide under the bed saying, if I can't see the world can't see me. But those little sort of radars are still there, absorbing energy, taking energy, creating fight or flight. And I often hear people saying, my life is perfect. I've got money, I've got great relationships, I've got cars, I've got houses, but why am I so anxious and why am I so sick? And yet it's because these troubles have been subconsciously suitcased, maybe in early childhood, maybe even before
in the womb,
maybe in the uterus. Yeah. We now also know that the space around your genes, not your genes, but the space around, can be up to 4 generations. So there's what they call lineage trauma. Why is it that these conversations are not happening? Because me as a clinician has never had them, but I would really like to know about that, because then I could explore and challenge it.
Yeah.
Why is it not happening? Why do you have to hit the pit before these things change?
I was reading the new version of the Hippocratic Oath today, and modern medicine's so far away even from the new version that was written in 1960 something. Yeah. Treating the person as a whole, listening.
Yeah, active listening.
Active listening.
Yes.
What are they not telling me?
Yes. Well, I certainly see, having been a trainer and my own personal experience, there is more emphasis on how you defend yourself in your notes as opposed to how much time you spend with the patient. So I can see there's less eye contact. There's little active listening. It's all about How can I make sure that I stay
Solve
safe?
that problem.
Yeah. Well, not even solve it, just stay safe.
Yeah. Keep
for
my job.
myself. Keep my job, keep my license. And people aren't stupid. There's a lot of emotional intelligence saying they're not really listening.
They're not listening to me.
You know, and often people are looking at what's in their waiting room rather than what's in front of them. Why has it got so bad?
I think it's a business, right? I'm not on like big pharma business.
No.
It's a business.
It's transactional.
You're in, you're out. It's not that. I remember my eldest being sick in, where were we? Greece. It was actually a botched appendicitis that she'd had. They'd left part of the stump in. And we were on holiday in Greece, and the doctor came. They gave her a shot for the pain, but they also gave her lots of homeopathic medicine at the same time. You know, it's become that medicine used to be a whole 360.
Yes.
You know, food. If someone
Yes.
was sick, people from the village come in and
Yes.
and give the food and help
Yes.
you out, or your grandma or whoever it is.
Yeah.
You have people praying for you. There is a sense of community. People will clean your home. Like when I was a Buddhist leader, there was a lady with ME, and I used to go in and clean her house, and I would chant for her so she could hear me chanting. That woman got better in 2 years and went back to work.
Amazing.
You know, because it was a sense of community
Yes.
around her. We now have, in general, you either go down this way or you're that way. You go down the woo-woo way
Yeah.
or you go this way.
They don't want,
And they don't want to cross over.
Yes.
Especially, dare I say, a number of doctors.
Yes. No. You're
Nurses
absolutely
might
right.
be more open. I remember within the Lupus Centre, my nurse, she was amazing. She'd be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Your bloods are getting really good. Like, you didn't used to be like this. Tell me what you're doing so I can tell the others. I was like, well, I did this and I'm trying this. She's like, I'll tell the others.
Yes. But you see, you're confident. And I think a lot of people who go alternative are scared that if they open this up in front of their clinicians, that they will be abandoned. So sadly, they're having to suppress it.
Yeah, I've met medical students giving me IVs at certain clinics saying, yeah, I can't tell my peers.
Yes.
I'm like playing hooky here.
Yes. Yes.
They'll just laugh at me.
And again, this lack of openness is fear. Again, it's all based on the same thing. I'm intrigued about what you talked about serving people without any immediate gain. They've now looked at the two biggest things in longevity, and communities comes up as number one, and nature comes back as equal. So nature and communities, non-transactional arrangements, you know, where you just serve, and the return on your investment doesn't necessarily have to be transactional. People just feel better, they sleep better. So service without transaction is very, very important. And sadly, we've become very transactional in everything.
Yeah, it's all about, in general, about ego.
Yes, it is totally about ego.
So on the way here, I said, how can I made a little vow of myself. I said, my purpose for being here is just to help 3 people. If I can help 3 people who are listening, that will help their family, that will help their work, and that will help everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. And those 3 people will tell another 3 people. And that's how it works.
That's it.
And it's interesting. You've had no medical background.
Nope.
You made an absolute decision to change and thrived on that. Not just thrived, but excelled and shifted so many gears. How does your daughter feel about all of this?
Well, my eldest had meningitis and had a stroke at 17. Yeah. And lost 50% feeling in her left side. And I said to her, and she went off and she went and studied after, she couldn't even write her own name. And I'll never forget her crying and saying with the neurologist, this isn't me, I'm a grade A student and meant to go to one of the best universities. I can't even, read my name. And he threw a newspaper at her and he said, just read 1 line a day.
Yeah.
Your brain can rework.
Break it down.
That's all you have to do. And at first I thought, wow, he's a bit harsh. But he's right. And she went and did a clinical psychology degree. And I said to her, how did you do that and work at the same time? She said, Mummy, I saw you do what you did. You rose from the dead,
Yes.
you couldn't walk.
You gave
so
her hope.
I know I can do anything.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And the power of the mind. I mean, I'm a great believer. When the first question was mind or matter, but I feel mind equals matter. It's not one or the other. You're connected totally together as one.
Yeah.
And again, I don't, talking about convention, often we just silo everything to heart or kidney or liver. And the body is one big city talking to itself. So you cannot silo it. You cannot silo it.
No. And it is important. The first bit of my book in 360 Fertility is a questionnaire asking what was going on in your mum's life when she was pregnant.
Yes.
How is the health of your mum? How often do you go to the toilet? All of these things. And some people are like, what's that got to do? How often I go to the toilet? What's that got to do with fertility? And I'm like, well, if your body's not processing, it's not getting everything in.
Totally.
It's not a hospitable environment to host a human in.
Yes.
And I do find a lot of people, once you change their heart and mind, their body falls into
totally
things.
Exactly. It all gets better together.
Yeah,
because it is all together.
It is all together.
The psychology, neurology, immunology, endocrine are all one.
Yeah.
And Barbara Neal's work, your work, it just reinforces that. And tell me some of the results that you've seen. I mean, you're just phenomenal. In terms of what you achieve for yourself.
But I wish people would say more about what have you seen with clients. So I was in London last week, and an old client, I haven't seen her in 9 months, messaged me and said, please, can we have a video call? And I said, well, I'm sort of in London, I'm running around, I'll have half an hour when I get to the station. If you don't mind, I'll be just at the train station. She said, no, I don't mind. This lady, highly successful businesswoman, her relationship was there was problems here, there, and everywhere. We worked together as a team. Her gut wasn't working properly. She was struggling with her fertility. They'd said only egg donor. We worked as a team. I worked with her husband. I worked on their sex life, everything. And she presented this biggest bump to me.
Oh, goodness.
I was crying my eyes out at the station.
Yeah.
And she said, you changed everything. You changed, I'm fitter. My cholesterol's lower. I'm now, she's 42. She's now pregnant with her own eggs without IVF.
Nothing. Yeah.
She said, you've helped my husband, and he's now gone off into his own business. He's no longer working for the family, which was keeping him trapped. So many things. Yes. One of my first ladies, she was with 3 different medical teams, and autoimmune it was, but there was rheumatoid arthritis, gastro, and another team. And I worked with her for, I think, about 24 weeks. And by the end of those 24 weeks, she'd been discharged. Now, I didn't say, oh, we've changed your blood work. No. Her blood work changed.
Yes.
It changed.
Yes.
So that's proof it can work.
Of course
And I'm not saying, like, with me, yes, my blood work, my lupus is not there. At the moment, my hands are a mess. There's some sort of flare there. But my stepdad died this year. Within 6 weeks, my stepdad died, 30 years. That brought up the death, for me, trauma of my dad dying when I was young. I had to move my mum countries. My mum had no money. I had to rehome her from Spain to here. She didn't know anything. She had £800 to her name. I had to find her somewhere to live. And I'm moving, and all within the same time. And I was like, oh my gosh, my hands have flared up. Yeah. And I'm like, it's okay, because once I get all this settled, then I know what to do.
See, what you've done, you've got an inner voice and inner intuition. Yeah. You're making links. Whereas most people would have seen a doctor and been given a label.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. The best agent for your health is yourself. Yeah. We just have to open up and become aware. That's our job, to increase awareness, to think, that's the link. Let's reflect on why I'm feeling like this and make the links. And then we can do something about it. The body's an incredible tool. It is probably, there's nothing that can compare. We still haven't bottomed it out. I always say to my clients that the blood test that can be done, it's like looking at a quarter of a drop of the ocean, of all the oceans in the world, just 1/4 of a drop. and making a decision on all the
And that's
others
in that moment.
in that moment, and it's dynamic.
In that moment. I was just at a department store because I had a bit of time to kill, so I went to my namesake and I had a wander around. And then one of the makeup ladies said, "Oh, you've got the most amazing skin," to me. And I said, "Thank you. That means a lot because my skin wasn't always like this." You know, as a teenager, I had the acne and I had it here, but also with the lupus, I had the butterfly rash.
Yes.
And I had lesions here, and all there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even smile without cracking my skin. And they said my skin would always be like that. And I had to use the roll-on topical antibiotics.
Goodness.
And it was, and you know, I was on the methotrexate. I was on the
Hydroxychloroquine.
Yes, that one.
So everything to suppress your immune
Everything to
system,
suppress
to
it.
close
And that was
flesh.
making my
Yeah, of course it
skin
would.
just flake off. I mean, it was like I had dandruff, but on my face.
Yeah.
And now look at my skin.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they said it would never.
No.
So
Yes.
all those people that say to me, "Yeah, well, she's just lucky." I'm not lucky.
No.
That's my body that's changed that,
Yes.
and I've changed certain things.
Yes. And this is the thing. We work in a world where we want to suppress signals. We call them symptoms, but they're actually signals
They're
of distress.
signals.
And we don't need to, we should let them flow through us, understand them, and look at where the issue is rather than close them off. Headaches, cholesterol, blood pressure are all signals of reactiveness. So body's talking to us and we're not listening.
I say your body's trying to have a conversation.
Yes.
And you're just taping its mouth up.
Yeah, exactly. I've always, with our patients, we have very similar patients. There's always, when you dig deep, there's always background issues, whether it's childhood or, as you said, even in uterus. And again, understanding that these conversations are still there taking energy, which then means you move away from mitochondrial energy, you steal from your immune system, you steal your hormones, fertility issues, then you're in your adrenal world, then you're in the autonomic world where you start getting POTS and MCAS, so ultimately it's an energy game about preserving the right energy and getting back into that place again. Why aren't we talking about it in this way? Why? Because if we were, if I were to ask you, how inflamed do you feel today and where is it showing? It changes the narrative. How energetic do you feel today? Did you wake up today making decisions based on fear or hope?
Yeah.
That could totally change the way people think about their life and their.
Do you know one question I ask clients? Mark yourself 0 to 10 on joy, just inner joy.
That's
do you know what's really sad? A lot of people say 3 or 4.
Gosh, yeah.
And on the outside to the rest of the world, they just got everything, right?
And this is.
But I'm like, what is it for you?
Yeah.
What is it for you? One lady, she was an accountant, very successful, all of these things, fertility struggles again, 2 failed IVFs. And I said, yeah, you've got everything, but what about you?
Yeah.
Where's you? So I did, my grandpa was a psychiatrist, and the whole 7-year cycles, I remember him telling me.
Yes.
So I say, between 0 and 7, what did you like to do? 7 and 14, and we go all the way up to 30. And then I say, you pick 3 things from each of those 7-year time periods, and now you're going to choose one. I say, you choose one that you're going to do this week, and I'm going to choose one for you.
Wow.
And within about 3 weeks, I ask them again, where are you enjoying? And they're always like over 7.
Yes.
And it can be the simplest thing, dancing around the kitchen, making peanut butter sandwiches, going into the forest, making a den.
Yes. Being in the
Anything.
present.
Yeah.
Yeah, and keeping life simple.
Yeah.
Talking of simplicity, a lot of the work that we do sounds very innovative, but actually it's going back to Indigenous wisdom. It's about just going to sleep on time. Look at sunrise, sunset, be in the present, communicate, earth, ground, spend time in nature, breathe, sleep. All the simple things that we're giving lip service to. But they are actually they're the groundwork to everything getting better. It's almost like we've given our agency outwards to abundance, to more stimulation. And it's getting worse, not better. If you had to advise the next generation on how to manage themselves, because they've got a tough time ahead with all of these influences, what would you say to them?
So I'm doing a day in the life soon. A magazine's asked me to do in the life. And I'm like, oh gosh, how am I going to do a day in the life? Because I just go as I flow, right?
Yeah.
I know it's difficult if you have a 9-to-5 job or something like that. But look at those obvious signals. So I have a 6-year-old as well as a 28-year-old. I have a 6-year-old. And I parent very differently now. I don't parent out of fear. I parent out of making her the own boss of her.
Give me an example of that
So,
sort of parenting.
If,
A lot
for
of people
example,
want to hear that.
there's sweeties in a goodie bag. She's been to a party. And she says, Mummy, can I have these sweeties? I said, okay. When you have the sweeties, or if you have more than a couple, how do you feel? What colour do you feel? She says, oh, I go a bit red. I go red in my head and in my body, and I get a bit hot. And I say, how do you feel an hour after you've had the sweeties? I go black. So how do you like to feel? Oh, I like to feel yellow and white. I said, okay. Do you feel like that with a bit of chocolate? Sometimes. Do you want the sweeties or not? How do you want to feel? I don't think I'll have the sweeties.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Interesting.
that's what she says.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or she might go, I'll have one sweetie.
Yeah.
Rather than the whole bag.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So I'm making her make a decision of how she wants to feel.
Yes.
She looks at her wee every morning.
Yeah.
She did this one. Oh, she said, Mummy, I had my full water with my lunch today. You can see by my wee. It's good.
Isn't that great?
And she'll push me over when I've had a poo. And she'll be like, oh, Mummy, you need to have some more apples today.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's just that information. So, and she'll be like that. And she'll say, oh, Mummy, my poo is a bit hard today. Can I have an apple? Just
make
simple, like making
awareness.
the links of the body rather than we're shamed about talking about poo.
No.
We're shamed, about having a wee. We're shamed about the menstrual cycle. Yeah. She knows all about the menstrual cycle. Yeah. I have a large structure of a vagina on my desk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
we need to open up.
We need to open up.
I call it emotional constipation.
Oh, yeah.
It's we can't talk about it. It doesn't go away.
No.
It goes inwards, and then it expresses through disease.
Yeah.
And so this is really powerful. In terms of those open conversations, how does she manage with her peer groups?
I think she says, I'm just Lani. I like to do like what I like to do. I don't have to be like everybody else. Yes. And that's really nice because I think it's like my mum's generation. She won't mind me saying at all. My mum's early 70s, and she'll say, just live a little, Libberty, live a little. Have a few drinks or stay up till midnight.
Challenge yourself.
And I say, Mummy, I want to live a lot. I say, I want to live a lot, thank you. And she'll laugh. But she said, but everyone else is doing that. And I said, but Mummy, your average 51-year-old woman isn't lifting more than her own body weight at the gym. All of these things, I feel strong. I sleep, I sleep dead on 7.5 to 8 hours, and I wake up. Yeah. And my daughter's father's always, he looks at me, he's like, why are you so happy in the morning? I'm just like,
yeah.
And there's a time when I used to have to get up and I had to have something sugary. It got to the point with my lupus where I'd have Thornton's toffee for breakfast.
Yeah. And you were just
because I just
fueling
needed
the
sugar.
Yeah, just for the energy.
Just to
there was
get,
nothing else.
Yeah, just to get, and then sleep and then have a bit more sugar. Which of course fueling the inflammation, but it's But
you had to get on with it.
Yeah, a client came to me the other day, they had 4 coffees a day. I was like, why do you have to have 4 coffees? I'm not judging you.
No.
But why do you feel, well, this. I said, all right, let's work this back.
Exactly.
Then.
Exactly.
Right?
And do you find that
it's not the coffee that's a problem, it's why you need it.
Yeah. And do you find that because it comes from authenticity, it comes from experience, do you find that most people say to you in your consulting arena, I get that? It almost like you resonate with intuition that we've all got and we're not opening it up. And I find that when people do that, they connect the dots because they own it. And I think we've over-medicalized everything, and we've got to go back to intuition and common sense. And, you've shown what you can not only achieve for yourself and those around you, but how your daughters behave around you. They all pick up these things and sets them up for life, really. They become resilient because they have agency. How do you find you can get this word out more? What is it that you can do? Because I think this has now become more important than at any other time. When people are looking for solutions, they're not getting them.
They're not getting them. And I think that's why we've had that whole flip to the biohacker thing, because people are not being helped.
Yes.
They're not even being managed sometimes.
No.
Those painkillers aren't even hitting the sides anymore. So they're trying something else. People are lost.
Yes.
That's why I did my first ever podcast, and it had 4 million views in one weekend. I had 3,000 followers. The podcast host had like 20,000. But I said, isn't that proof that people need to be listened to?
Yes.
People don't feel that someone else is talking about their life.
Yes. I totally agree.
That's what it is. So that's why I wrote my book on fertility, because also people are not talking about the man, which is outrageous, because 48% of subfertility is a male contributing factor. Within that, 20 to 30% is a sole male factor. But I've had clients go through 5 rounds of IVF before anyone's even physically examined the man.
Yes.
Or looked at his... People, they might do a sperm profile, but they won't look at his blood work.
No, because it's siloed. And this is the problem. We've almost created pathways for, one pathway for all the people in the world. And we are totally individual. You're a different signature to everybody else in the world.
Yeah.
And the context of your life, your previous life, this life, that life is all relevant. And I think we're missing a trick here. And more importantly, by giving agency back to an individual, we can solve a lot of the social health problems that are occurring at the moment. We're seeing a lot of people. You mentioned joy. We define living as independent, in pursuit of fulfillment, i.e. interested in tomorrow, and purposeful.
Yes.
And again, if you ask the question for a lot of people, they don't have all three, therefore they're suboptimal. But what I find is that we're existing longer. And so we sort of take credit for that. But actually, that's not what it's about. It's about living your best now.
Truly living your best and being in that moment. I had a client the other day who was actually a doctor, and I said, what's your mission? What's your life? And she said, I've forgotten it. I don't know what it is anymore.
So sad.
And I said, once we get that sorted, we'll be okay.
I think I find that sad. 5 or 6 years in medical school with the ambition to supporting and actually healing turns into a bureaucratic process. And it's very sad, which is why we're seeing such a huge amount of general anxiety amongst the medical profession and them exiting. And I do think it's sad, and it's not necessary. We just need to break the silos and the systems that are not serving anybody at the moment. And people are getting despondent and they're finding their own way. And then that matrix of biohacking is also complicated. People are just chasing things, not going back.
Because it's not individual.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I've called out so many biohackers who are far more, popular than I am. And I say, yes, ashwagandha is great, but it's not for everyone. You can't take it if you're this, or this. And then I was like taking so much time because what might be great for me might not be great for someone else.
Yeah.
So it's whenever I do a client report, I'll send them all the clinical data, all the trial, and say, read into this, and then you decide if you want to explore it.
That's exactly the right way to do it.
Explore it, and you've got to understand why.
Yes. And now, of course, with AI, you can change the narrative of these things that suit your personalities. So it doesn't have to belong to experts. You can make it, legible to yourself. And that, I think that's also important. I'm of the belief that the body's got all the tools it needs if we can express them, clean them, protect them to keep us going. And now autoimmunity is a huge issue, but I think autoimmunity, cancer, all the 126,000 labeled diseases all come from the same root cause of inflammation. So do you find that the solutions you offer in fertility are not too dissimilar to autoimmunity.
No, they're
Too
not.
dissimilar to eczema, to blood pressure.
No, all. So there's such a crossover. So now I'm writing the second book, but I'm going more into detail, just onto 10 points.
Yes.
Because I want to hyper focus for the autoimmune, because I really don't want people to exist the way I did.
Yeah.
And more people are getting diagnosed with autoimmune.
And younger too.
Yeah, younger.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so common in women.
Yes.
And, more common if you're non-white. And I just don't feel that people, oh yeah, it's autoimmune. Like, well, what does that actually mean?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, my own son, 15 or 16, was developing dermatitis. We just did some blood profiles and his thyroid antibodies were positive. There's no family history. Again, I was still in that conventional world. But when we analyzed what children have to do these days, full on in school, full on in sports, full on weekends, and then keeping up with the Joneses next door. And you just think this is the norm, but it isn't. These poor children are supposed to be playing till 7 or 8 in nature. And I think we need to understand this, that sometimes we're trying to conform to an outside world, but we're just utilizing energy in fight or flight.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they start depleting earlier. And everything's much quicker now with internet, so they have to work at pace. And I was quite surprised to see the antibodies, but I also saw vitamin D depletion and iron depletion, and we restored.
Vitamin D is so common.
Yeah.
Especially within the fertility and autoimmune.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a hormone, it's an immune modulator, and it works everywhere. And so we restored gut, iron, D, the Bs, and the antibodies went back to normal again.
There you go.
Now, a few years, if we hadn't done that, it would have led to problems, and then there's a label. Do you see?
Yeah.
So illness is not a prescription deficiency. It's a nutritional depletion or a system breakdown.
See, and that's proof. You did the work. It got all the other things that were low to support that.
Yes.
And then it changed. I had a guy in America, his cholesterol was really high. They were going to put him on statins. And I said, well, let me just look at your blood work. And I'm not a doctor, but I was like, your folate is on the floor. Like, it's on, and they don't look at that for a man. I was like, it's on the floor. I said, go back to them and ask them to explore that. Upped his folate. 3 weeks later, his cholesterol was fine.
Yeah.
So he no longer had to go on the statins.
Yes, exactly. And homocysteine increases. We know that methylfolate and things like that help. So it's all there in nature.
Yeah.
So do you see a change in the way we practice? In a way, I mean, my vision for the future is that things will move out of hospitals, out of GP surgeries, into communities where you have health coaches that sit in community centers, arrange, meetings, forums, events, build that structure up again where they can intuitively bring all the right people together and self-care.
I would love that, but I'm not sure if it will happen in my lifetime. I'm really not sure. I'm seeing that shift, but it's what we used to have. I remember the family doctor as I was a child. He knew my mum. He knew my dad. He knew that my parents had gone through a divorce. He knew everything about everybody.
He could look at your face and say, "You're not right.
You're not being you today."
And in fact, the head receptionist knew.
Yes.
When I started early, it was just like that. I had my own list of 2,500 patients, did 7 days a week. And reception said, they don't look right today, Ash. I don't know what's wrong. Just see them first.
Yeah.
And we're losing that because nobody knows anybody anymore. They don't know your baseline anymore.
Whereas you're lucky now if you get to see the same doctor.
Yes. Yeah. So this continuity of care model is logicated by saying, well, they don't say everything. Well, they don't actually.
No. That's where I'm lucky as a coach because I see them every week and I'll speak to them every day.
Yes.
I've checked on one of my clients today 4 times because they're going through a bit of their dad's ill. So I'm like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
I know your dad's ill, and you need to support your mom, but you need to go to the gym.
There you are.
You need to go for that walk because the more you feel yourself, the more you can cope with this.
Totally correct. And I think that's the thing. Because you're joyful, because you're doing this from the right energy, it's not tiring, and people think, whereas sitting in front of a desk just managing bureaucracy will exhaust you because you're not using your natural intuition. So I think there's more than this than just helping. It's actually what we're built for. We're humans, and we need to bring humanization back into medicine rather than linear intellect.
Actually, that's the line that my agent used to sell my book to the publishers.
Oh, really?
Because quite a lot of them turned us down at the beginning. They said, she's not a doctor. It's never going to sell. La, la. And she put, you're not getting it. No. It's about humanizing fertility.
Yes. Totally.
And not seeing someone as a problem, but seeing them as a whole.
Yes.
And I was like, Kiri, you get it.
Yeah,
you
totally.
get me.
Totally. And, in my last conference, I talked about the fact that we're Homo sapiens. And Homo sapiens means aware. We need to be aware. And we're not. In fact, animals are more aware than we are. They can sense.
We do everything to shut off that unawareness.
Yeah.
TV, noise.
Exactly.
Food. Whatever dopamine rush it is.
Yeah. And that's because I think we've broken down the communities. We've certainly broken down nature. And we are living in fear. Everyone is paranoid about not having enough and not analyzing what they've got. I met a trainee monk in Poland when I was going to one of my retreats, and he exited the system in his 30s and decided he was just going to go around the world on his motorbike. And he thought he'd had enough money to see him through all of this. And I met him on the European excursion, and he just said, the money I thought I had 2 years ago that would keep me going for X years, I can use that same money and it's going to go tenfold longer. I said, why is that? He goes, I just stop over, see farmers, and go in there and say, do you want some help moving things around? And they said, well, we don't have any money to pay you. He goes, I don't want money. I just want to help you out. With that, they have a conversation. They eat together. They said, where are you off to tomorrow? He goes, I'll decide tomorrow. I don't make plans. And they give him a home. They converse. And so what he said is that when you serve without the need of anything back, it comes back to you tenfold through different ways. And so he says, I've got more than I need now. And whereas in this current world, we're constantly hoarding because of the fact of fear of not having anyone, being isolated, being in a care home. And in fact, we're not living in the present because we're so worried about the future. And again, a lot of community living is about being present. And I think we need to bring that back, look after today, and then tomorrow we'll look after it.
And I know I do comprehend that might be different for everybody. If you're living in London, if you're away from your family, if you're a lawyer and you're working crazy hours, but it's about what are you going to be non-negotiable about. So I have a lot of lawyers that are my clients, a lot of thyroid issues. Yes. And I was like, have you seen an endocrinologist? You're a lawyer. And there's always something wrong with them. And when I say, okay, instead of working till 10 o'clock, can you get what you do at work done by 7 o'clock? And they're like, I don't know. And I say, okay, how much do you earn? And they'll say, well, I say, oh, okay, you're quite good at your job, but you're not doing it. And I'll be quite challenged. And they're like, yeah, you're right, I could do it, but I don't have to have that conversation with that person.
Yes,
instead of doing the conversation that's an hour and a half, I can do it in 45 minutes.
Yes.
And they do it. And I'm like, okay, so now you can come home and have dinner with your partner.
Yes.
You can go to sleep at the same time.
Yes.
You don't feel that you have to Netflix and chill till 1 a.m. because you work till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You're eating 3 hours earlier, which is going to help your body.
I mean, it's amazing, isn't it?
Everything, just by showing them.
Yes.
Also, with the lawyers, I work out how much they're getting paid, how many hours they're actually working. And I say, would you work for that? And they go, no. And I said, well, you are. You are.
Isn't that great?
You are.
True.
I said, you get more to work in a supermarket than actually what you're doing. With this recently with a hotshot partner somewhere, and she was like, I need to sort that out. I was like, yeah, you do.
So it's actually intentional living. It's actually doing things with purpose to support others, support yourself, and it's not selfishness, it's self-care, isn't it?
It is, because then we can support everyone else around us. And I know
you can only give when you're full.
Yeah, I know it sounds really cheesy, but I am that person who's on the street if I think you've got lovely hair, I will walk up to you and say, "You've got such lovely hair." Or I'll see a couple and they've kissed and I'll walk up to them and say, "It's really lovely that you just did that. It's beautiful."
But they remember that forever.
It's filled me with such joy and thank you.
Yeah.
And my partner's always like, "Oh, you're so embarrassing." And I'm like, no, because they gifted me something.
Yes.
And I want to gift them back.
Yes. Good for you.
And I think if we were all a little bit more like that, just think how lovely it
Yes,
would.
well, if you give somebody more than you've got, and everybody did that in the world, that's the end of the world's problems overnight, isn't it? It really is. And I think people need to trust themselves with that. But we're pushing success in the wrong way, or have been. But do you feel there's a change in energy? Do you feel things are evolving in the right way?
I think there are. I mean, I know social media has a lot of bad press, but I think it's great. It just depends on who you follow. Are you intentional with who you follow? I think it's great you get access to people like you. Someone can ask you a question. I'm sure you'll answer back.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful, because before we didn't have access to people like that at all.
Yes.
know?
It's democratized access, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's great for me. I can talk to a doctor in Canada or one in Dubai, and I'm like, what do you think about this? Which, when the whole double ejaculation thing came out, my phone was going crazy with a bunch of doctors that must all been at the same conference, because they were all texting me or emailing me like, yeah, Dr. Hallie's already told me, or Dr. Victory's just told me. But that's that thing of sharing, because they're like, if we tell you, you're going to tell more people as well.
Yes.
And so I think social media is great for that. But I think also the whole working from home has helped.
Mm-hmm.
So people are moving out of the city.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they can have a better standard of living.
More balance.
I moved out. I was in London for 20 odd years.
Gosh, yes.
And my eldest said to me, I was often hiking in the lakes, and she said, "Mummy, you always look so much younger and happier when you go up north. You should go." And I do live up north, and I know it sounds cheesy, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Last year on my birthday, I went for a 2-hour walk. I saw one person, one dog, and we had a chat. And randomly, I'd messaged his wife on Facebook, and I never go on Facebook. And her son had been in a car crash and passed, and I'd sent her the name of this book called Elsewhere. It's a teenager's book about death. And he said, "Oh my God, you're the Elsewhere woman.
Wow.
And that book really helped my wife." And I met him on that thing.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Isn't that
and then I went to the flower shop to buy myself some flowers, and the lady gave me a candle. And then I went to the health food shop, and the man gave me a free drink. And I came home, and I was just like, this has been one of the best birthdays ever.
There you are. Yes.
But it's that sense of community.
Totally.
In London, I used to commute a 3-hour round trip. So from South London to North London every day. I was working with this lawyer negotiating for this company that was often getting sued. And I was the person that had to stop them getting sued. And I used to cry every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People pushed past me when my belly was out here, full pregnant, trying to get a seat. People just putting their earphones. Like, I won't look at her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm carrying the next person that might be able to save your life.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
it's so
know.
different, isn't it?
Yeah. Who all might be wiping your bottom in an old people's home.
No.
Be kind.
So it's almost like we set ourselves up to fail by striving for what we feel is the right thing. Yeah. And we're putting all our energy out, and we're empty inside. And these behavior patterns are all about that. That's not what a human is, you see. And we've become that way. And I think, again, it starts from childhood, the sort of things that you're talking to your 6-year-old about, just opening up these chapters, opening up the world too. Mm-hmm. So we don't have to be geographically located in the way that we are. And there's so many things that can be brought in at a very early level. And the most important thing is that ability, that inner confidence that your 6-year-old's got. Think, don't really care what others think. This is me. And we need more of that, I think. because it's authentic.
I think we do, but it starts with the parents.
It does.
It starts with the schools.
Yes.
You know, telling them, you know, unless you get to a red brick university, you're wasting your parents' money.
It's awful. But that sort of pressure is tough.
Yeah, that's hard.
And it causes anxiety.
Yeah, I had one client, deep anxiety teenager, and I went through her schedule, and I messaged her parents, and I said, I don't really think she has like chemical imbalance. I'm not a doctor, but she's working 70 hours a week.
Look at the obvious.
Anyone working 70 hours a week is going to be fried.
Yes.
You know, you need to pull back. She's 14. You need to pull back on this, and I think it will help.
Yeah.
You know, because then like anyone else, she's working 70 hours a week. She wants Netflix and chill. She wants to go on her phone. She wants to speak to her friends. And
they're full on at every level.
She's not going to bed till 3 in the morning. Then you want her to get up at 7 in the morning to go and do this and that. Then she's going to have a coffee with all the frothy and syrups, you know. And then we scaled back. And yeah, she got her happiness back.
Yeah, fantastic.
You know, but
fantastic.
yes,
You need someone who's out the system who can explain it like you do.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's in language that everyone gets and resonates.
I mean, I'm not for everybody.
No, but, well, I think the narrative is for everybody.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the way
Others may not be ready.
They might not be ready.
Yeah.
I remember one big oil man in the United Emirates, and I put the screen down, and I was like, oh my God, I've really just gone for him. Like, really gone for him. But it was the only way I could get him to do what he needed to do to improve his sperm. And I questioned his love for his wife. I said, do you love your wife? And he said, yeah. I said, okay. And I explained to him, I said, I've had 2 miscarriages. I'll explain what it feels like to have one. So I explained it. And he said, oh, that's awful. I said, would you like your wife ever to experience that? I said, no. I said, I don't really think you love your wife.
Really?
And I said it to him. And he was like, why? I said, because you're not trying to improve your sperm. You're not doing anything. You're working too hard. It's all about the money. You're still having the occasional drink. You're vaping. You're not eating the right foods. And I said, you're setting her up, increasing her chances to have a miscarriage because you're giving her crappy sperm. And I said, so you go away and you think about that. Because to me, love is a being, is a way of being, and it's an action. And it's your actions are your word. And I put the thing down and I was like, oh my God. And then his wife messaged me. And I said, has he fired me? She said, no, I don't know what you said to him, but he's in. He's in now. And then I messaged him, and went, you do love your wife.
Oh, that's so lovely. There you go. Authentic.
Yeah.
Direct. And it comes from a place of caring.
Yeah.
And you know, tough love isn't necessarily bad if it comes from authenticity.
Yeah.
Do you see? And I think that shows it.
I've had tough. I remember when I saw Raj, I would cry a lot. I felt really sorry for myself. And he said, why are you crying? Today's going to be the last time you cry about that. He said, because it's not going to change anything. All these other things will help change.
Yes. Yeah.
He said, that you're stuck in the fear. And
yes.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
there you go.
I went, okay. And I never forget that day.
Yeah. There you are. I mean, all of these things are changing people's lives. A little bit about ADHD. Now, it's something that we're seeing more of, neurodiversity, children more wired than ever before. Do you have any views on it?
I think I have many views on it, and it all depends on the person. I think there's a lot of trauma going around, I'll use he won't mind, my partner as an example. When I was pregnant, the midwife said, have you ever been assessed for ADHD? To him.
Right.
And he was like, no, but I do have a bit of OCD. And it wasn't a bit. Like, he used to have to shut all the shutters 90 times. And if I went for at bedtime and count to a certain number, and if I went for a wee in between that, he'd have to start again.
My goodness, right.
So it was quite. And I worked it all back, and I was like, when did all this start? He said, when I was 12. I was like, huh? No, it was about, if 12 was worse, I think it was 8. So that was when your brother was born. I said, yeah. I said, oh, yeah. Now, his brother was born with his organs on the outside of his body. So they live up north. You know, his brother could have died. He had to have multiple operations before he was even 1. They were down at Harley Street, not Harley Street, Great Ormond Street. So his mum was away a lot. His dad's away a lot, trying to keep the family business going. So they've got like it was the cleaner, but she sort of became a housekeeper. That's trauma. He's trying to do anything to keep safe. And then that trauma was reignited with me being pregnant as a geriatric woman. Them saying, oh, because of the lupus, I might have a heart attack and all of these things. And he went back to his default.
Oh, my goodness.
Right?
There you go.
So I think, so when he worked through a lot of that stuff, yes, he may have the ADHD, but it was exasperated
it's
by these things. It was triggered, scrolling. It's going to make it worse. Our diet, alcohol.
Absolutely.
Back in the day.
All the fight or flight stuff.
When I was little, alcohol was Christmas and birthdays and births and funerals.
Yes.
Now it's every day.
Yes.
Now you're not going to be getting your deep sleep if you're having a drink.
Yeah.
You might sleep. You might be in bed with your eyes closed, but that doesn't mean you've had a quality of sleep.
Yes.
So when you wake up, you're not feeling refreshed. You're feeling anxious because you're not got your A game. All of these things. I also think a lot of, where was I recently? That interaction. Oh, I was in a play gym with my grandson. And it was during term time, so everyone there was below 4. 4 or 5. There was 3 kids playing with me, aged 3 to 4. Their grandparents never came in with them. They were just on their phones the whole time. I had such fun. I was a sweaty mess when I got out of the thing, but I was playing with 4 kids, had the best. My grandson just fell asleep. He was just done. My daughter says, what do you do with him? I exhaust him. But they're not having that interaction.
No, that's right. Exactly. And, children pick up on that.
And diet. I mean, I don't know. I've only just seen glances of it because I try not to watch the news. Now the NHS is saying children should be weaned on chocolate buttons and things like that. Oh, it's just... Now, how's that going to affect... I know if I have a bit of sugar, I'm off my trolley.
Yes.
What's happened to your brain when you're little?
And that's the point. It's not so much what you put in your mouth, although you do put more of this in your mouth because you feel like you're craving it. It's when you're adrenally stressed, your cortisol will make sugar and your brain is fat. It doesn't like sugar. It likes fats. So I think a lot of this wired brain activity is linked to this anxiety, stress and trauma that you've described, which then leads to an external behavior pattern of eating wrongly. The brain gets fed the wrong fuel and it wires you more. So it's interesting that a lot of the increased diagnosis, I wonder, may well be nutritional. But the nutritional element is also linked indirectly to adrenal stress.
Yeah.
It's what it's like as an adult feeling adrenally stressed. Imagine what it is like a child when you're growing.
Yeah.
And developing your brain.
And you need that. Yeah, your whole body is just literally feeding off everything. Yes. And, my daughter has, I make her lunch because I didn't like what they were feeding her. And I know now they've changed it just recently. They're not allowed to give them chips and things like that. But it's, I think when children go to school in general, they believe whatever the teacher tells them is gospel. If it's school, it's, what did... Lani says, oh, you can't say the word stupid, it's a swear word. They say it's a swear word. So if you're giving them sweets as a reward because they've done well on a test, then that's okay. Good. Yeah. I had one lady who was obese and she'd had gastric band, she'd tried the weight loss injections, but every time she stopped, she blew up again. Super, super smart, academically smart young lady, really young. But it was, I remember her calling me. She's like, I'm in Tesco's outside the donut aisle, the Dunkin' Donut aisle. I said, which Tesco's are you in? She said, the Streatham one. I said, I know that one. Reverse. Don't walk past. Reverse. And then go up the next aisle and you can get the pineapple. Open it up and eat it now and it'll be fine. And we worked out who did she go to when she was seen as difficult or anything as a child, because she was very, very smart. She went to Oxford when she was like 16, super, super smart, came from a lower working class family in London. And she went to her grandma and they always had donuts. So that's where she went.
That's her comfort place, her secure place.
Right?
Yeah.
So when we worked all this out and I tried to replace it, yes, it was sugar, but it was a pineapple over a processed donut.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then we worked
So you worked with her?
Yeah.
Yeah. She wasn't seen to be, weak or...
No.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Experts tend to say, you shouldn't do that. Well, the patients know that already.
Yeah, they're not stupid. Yeah. They can go and Google it. They're not like, I know I shouldn't eat this family bar of chocolate. It's a question of
what makes them.
But what made you?
Yeah.
I mean, I always go back to Holt. Are you hungry?
Yes.
Angry?
Yes.
Lonely? Thirsty? Quite often we're just thirsty.
Yes. Exactly.
You're just missing
the body
those
doesn't
minerals.
know the way to tell the difference.
Yeah.
So,
Have a glass of water, 20 minutes if you still want the food.
Yeah, totally.
Have you eaten enough?
Yeah.
The amount of people who just don't eat enough food. So then they do need a snack.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they haven't got the nutritional density in their main meal.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. The question of, nutrient density versus calorific intake. Yeah. Absolutely. Fantastic. I mean, we could talk forever.
Really.
One question I really want to ask you, because I do see you as an expert in this field, because you've lived it, you feel it, you've seen it, you've seen everything about it, the implications, both socially, psychologically, and physically. Autoimmunity suggests the body's destroying itself.
That's what they say.
What are your thoughts on it?
I don't describe it like that.
No.
It's a collective... It's like a ball of... What are those things that you see them like the Science Museum, and it's like a ball and it has wires going everywhere. Yes. I believe it's a number of external factors. So I'll use myself as an example. When I was in my mummy's room, my dad was sent to prison for GBH, the one just below manslaughter, attempted manslaughter. So he was in prison. She was ashamed, obviously, of that. Couldn't tell her parents. My dad's grandfather's a doctor, couldn't. So she ran away. So she must have been scared.
She ran away?
Yeah, she ran away.
How old was she?
She would be 19.
Oh, goodness.
So she's living alone in Manchester. They live in the northeast. She's alone. She's got no family, no sister, no one around her. Her partner's in prison. That's shame. She's white. I'm brown, in the 1970s. So that's trauma. I must have come out a bit scared. Soon as I was born, they gave me, within 2 hours, a TB injection. TB. Because we lived in a really poor area. Mold, damp, and my mum moved me out of the bedroom into, I think we were in the living room, not in the bedroom, because the living room had so much mold. So I've worked back to all of these things. Trauma, I got severely beaten when I was, I think 4 or 5, the year before you go to school. Mm-hmm. So by the local kids, and I had bricks thrown at my head and everything, beaten up on the bowling green. And that, I never forget that, because that made me think there was something wrong with me. I was different. There was something wrong with me. So I was always like this. Do you know what I mean? Trying to hide away, not speak up, not have my voice. Whatever you're told, just don't say anything because people might not like it. So you link all of those things together. Then I was a model. Again, you don't have a voice. You just get told. They used to put chemical whitening products on my skin because I present European looking, but my skin was too dark. I partied a lot, you know, drinking so much alcohol, not sleeping well, therefore not eat. Well, if you didn't eat, you were a really good model.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I think it's a collective of circumstance that brought me to where I was.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's my body attacking itself. It's my body going, do you know what? I've had enough.
Yes.
I've had enough.
You're
Can you
out
just
of
look
fuel
after
now.
me now?
Yeah. And it's potholes.
Yeah.
Not you know, it's not broken. It's just lots of potholes of distress.
Yeah.
And so it's not attacking itself. It just can't function anymore.
It's trying to just cope.
Yes. And keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fighting all of that ammunition that you've given it over. It could be a period. But I was fine.
Yeah. No, you were externally still functional,
Yeah.
albeit on the wrong energy. And this is the thing, a car without petrol would stop. You don't. And you just keep digging deeper and deeper at a cost.
I use the car analogy a lot for clients. I say,
Yeah.
you know, if you what's your favorite sports car or whatever, and I say, right, you've got that on the drive. When you get it, do you put it straight into fifth or sixth?
No.
They go, no. I say, okay, you just got up and you
you're
had a
going back.
coffee
Yeah.
as soon before you even had a wee. Like you've just put your Ferrari into sixth and just gone straight out and ripped the car apart.
Yeah.
You know, you warm it up slowly.
Yes.
And you check. You know, I know it costs money to go and get bloods done, but if you do have that money and can afford to invest, try to get them done twice a year. And don't just do them when you feel ill, do them when you feel great.
So you get
then you've got a benchmarker.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. And again, it's a proactive approach.
Because you get your car checked.
Yes, you do. You treat your house and your car better.
Yeah, why not your body?
Exactly. Thank you so much for today. And thank you for sharing some, you know, personal journeys. It takes a lot of bravery to do it. But I
think that's important because so many people just think it's me.
Yeah.
It's me, I'm broken. And like I tell everyone about my skin. I say, you know, my skin before I couldn't go in this light, you know, and now I don't even wear yes, I've got blusher on and stuff, but I don't wear foundation. I don't need, my skin is great.
Yes.
It's evidence. It's proof.
That is
and
reversible.
I think people find hope and faith to create their own action and their own investigation in other people's stories.
And like you say, that extra awareness that the expression outside is telling a story inside.
Yeah.
And listen to it. I mean, what you've gone through and come out of with great success and continuous success and still growing.
Yeah, I'm still growing.
Just shows that
I'm not perfect.
We're all capable of reversing these traumas. We're not victims. We're just in a state of distress, and we just listen to our body and fix it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. Honestly, thank you so much.